Hey guys, it's mcfixit here, back with another disc die. We're going to be using a factory second. It's kind of hard to tell it's a factory second compass. This is going to be a giveaway for one of our youth leagues we have at church, and it's going to be pretty sweet. We're going to do a BB8 with a halo effect around it. And so this is just to help me be able to remember and see all of it. I'm going to walk you through all the tools, the supplies, the know-how on how you can do this yourself. A white disc is going to work best. They do make a lot of factory seconds out there that are a lot cheaper. And it's just got a couple little pieces on it. You're going to want a Stencil. This is an Oracle 5160. This is a clear clear vinyl, and that will help us. I also have learned to put a little bit of a crosshair. I don't know how well that's going to show up on camera. When I'm cutting this with the pin that comes with it, it does smear a little bit, but it does help you get a little bit more accurate. Then you're going to want a transfer paper, tons of paper towels. I made this little 3D print that allows you to put a disc on there and kind of line it up a little bit better. So I will be using that just because it helps accuracy on lining up. Then I have an electric burner over here. Got this one on Amazon relatively cheap. Works really well. You only have to put it on a couple. Then we're going to use a hotbed. I already poured it in, but it's half of the packet of the iDye poly with warm water and a mason jar. Mix it up. Go ahead and dump it on in an old pan. We're going to use acetone to remove the original stamp. Gloves are really helpful. Dawn dish soap and water. I like to use a little butane torch to get air bubbles out. I use a heat gun to help make sure the vinyl adheres to the plastic well. I only ever put it on one. This one is a 2-speed. Scraper tool and pick are super helpful. I use a Sharpie a lot. Sometimes if you don't have the perfect cut or something messes up, you can use a X-Acto knife and help yourself get a nice cut. A pair of scissors are helpful, especially when you're cutting the black acetone. That's all the tools and the supplies that I use. Let's go ahead and jump on into this video. I probably will fast forward whenever I'm doing weeding because it just takes forever. So I'll explain it before I do it and then just show you. So go ahead and take your disc, set it off to the side. We're going to go ahead and weed real quick. I'm going to just weed the parts we want to be black, which is going to be kind of hard to tell. So I am going to have my phone out next to me with a picture of BB8 up. And so anything you want to be black on here, go ahead and make black, and I'll fast forward it from here. So I've kind of changed up my design. Originally, I was going to do some orange and stuff in this. I'm going to actually not do that now. Decided it was not going to be able to be cut easily. I'm going to probably make another one of these that I can actually color a little better. But this one's going to be more black and white, which I am A-okay with. I think it's still going to look really cool when we get done. But go ahead and make sure you got everything cut that you want up. Anything you don't want up, you're gonna obviously leave down. So that is all the way finished. Let's go ahead and get some acetone and erase this stamp. So it's pretty easy. Just fold a piece of towel over quite a few different times, get a good amount of acetone, and just kind of go back and forth. You do want to go kind of quick because you want to get all of that coloration up as quick as you can because there's a lot of blue on there. And we'll just fold it a couple of times. And these stamps do normally come off pretty easily. I have a video coming out soon of a stamp that would not come off, and I'll have that up. It's on a Gateway disc, and that's a He-Man stamp, and did not do at all what I wanted to. That was my first and probably only Gateway disc I'm gonna do, just because I had no luck with that one. I think it was a baseline though, and that kind of does mess some things up. It's not a more premium disc. The more premium or better quality disc, the likelihood of it messing up is less. So I like that. I'm gonna go ahead and clean off the disc, just one little spray. And that's the opposite side where the acetone was. Acetone will eat through plastic, will eat through gloves, will eat through just about anything. fact, if you were to look at my gloves, they are a lot thinner right where I was touching it than any place else. So let's go ahead and set up our work area as well a little bit. I'm just gonna scoot some of this stuff back just to help me out. Give myself a little bit more space here. So we're gonna go ahead and grab our stencil, and we will want to be careful when we do this because we want it to get super lined up. The good thing is I do have those little crosshairs on there, so that will help. It's not super visible, but it is enough to where it should help get us nice and lined up. And the goal is to have as few of air bubbles as possible, but this is not where we have to really worry about the air bubbles as much. That'll be a little bit later on when we transfer this over. Let's go ahead and turn this on. We'll go ahead and put it on 2.5. We do not want this thing to boil, just to smoke a little bit is all we're doing, which may seem a little odd, but it is what we want. And I'm gonna go ahead and grab this piece. I'm guessing because it's a mid-range, I won't need the top. Actually, I do need the top. This thing's a cool little 3D print you can find on Thingiverse. If you know somebody with a 3D printer. Doesn't even cost a whole lot to make as well, which is pretty great. And I just use a pick, and we're just gonna pick one of the corners. Just like so, and slowly begin to peel. You do want to make sure everything is coming up, and if it doesn't, you do need to spend some time. And it's going to be almost off camera, but that's okay. I'm just pushing the stencil in to the transfer paper. It's where I put some cut marks is where we're having issues. When I originally was trying to do multicolor, almost there. I just go slow to make sure everything does what it needs to. Because if you go too quick, you actually can rip the stencil, and you don't want to do that. So you can go ahead and dispose of that properly. And this is the beauty in this, is it really helps you get lined up properly. I wanted to make sure the design was the right way as well. And then just slowly start pushing it down and onto it. Sometimes you have more success okay, we'll go ahead and take this off. That's why this is optional. You don't really use it for very much, but I do think it is helpful, and so I do like using it. Then I just peel this and put this on the back. It does help preserve the rim because this is a mid-range as well. It does not have a really like wide rim, it's just thick, and so you don't want splashes and stuff to come up when you're doing your hotbed. And I do believe I forgot to pull out some of the I guess they're bolts around the edge, so I'm gonna have to weed this just a tiny bit. Now that that is like that, we're going to go ahead and slowly pull this. Actually, I think I'm going to spend a few seconds putting it down, maybe a bit more. Now we're going to slowly pull it. Just like so. Then we're going to go ahead and stick this back on, because it is important to keep that clean as possible. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this back over here, because I forgot to get some of these little guys out. I would call them bolt holes, and they're really hard to see. And they're so small I can't even get the centerpiece out, so those are just going to have the whole thing's just going to come out. I wish I would have remembered to look at that a few minutes ago before I did the transfer paper. I'm not big on weeding it on the disc. I don't have near as much ability to do that. It just doesn't come off super clean. There's one right there and one right there. One of the nice things about doing this as well, you have the original kind of stamp that's been pressed into the disc. So if you do turn it at an angle, you should still be able to read compass on it, which is pretty cool that that is able to do that. So we're going to spend a good quality time pressing this in, making sure it's exactly what we want. And keep an eye over here, because that is so close to probably start smoking. So I just use number 1. Okay, now we're just going to spend some quality time, like I said, pushing all of the air bubbles out. And I think I changed up my mind. I think we're just going to do a hotbed, so I do apologize for putting that in at the beginning of the video. I think we're just going to do it black and white, and if that's the case, I am just going to go ahead and peel this. So I just spent some time doing something I didn't need to, but it's okay. We are going to peel this off as well. And so this will give us that. I just noticed there's so many air bubbles around the edge. So sometimes I change this up. And because you're kind of the author of your die, you can kind of do the same thing. You can choose to do kind of whatever you want. So it wasn't my original plan, but things do happen, and you just kind of go with it. And so it should make the time we spend. Okay, now it's starting to smoke. Go ahead and turn that off. You do not want it to start boiling. If it does start boiling, you need to go ahead and turn it off completely, pull it, and let it sit for, I would say, a good solid 5 or 10 minutes. Then probably redo it just to make sure you are all set. Boiling it has ruined one of the better discs that I own, and so I would hate for that to happen to you. So I'm going to go ahead and take off my glove. Sometimes it does help me push down a little firmer. And these air bubbles in the center I'm not worried about. It's only air bubbles next to the actual design and the halo effect on the rim. And I do normally heat it up 2 or maybe 3 times just to really make sure everything's doing what you want. Getting all those air bubbles out, that is so important. I can't stress that enough. Because the more air bubbles you have in there, honestly, the worse your design is going to look when you are done. And the other thing I will say, it's probably hard to see, but where it says Compass, Latitude64 has the different ratings for what the disc will do. You do have potential of leaking there. These are made by Latitude64. They are very similar plastic to the Neoplastic by Discmania, and I've had some issues in the past with Discmania kind of leaking out and under. Since I've heated them up, it does seem like it works better. But yeah, I think they press down when they're doing their stamp, and it causes it to have some ability of, I would call it messing up a stencil die, because it is kind of embossed, but the opposite of embossed, negative embossment, I guess. I just made that up, but that does tend to happen. Okay, once you have that kind of where you want it, and have all the air bubbles you think you can get out, go ahead and bring over your pan, your hotbed. And I use a little butane torch on the top of it to pop any air bubbles. Don't do it for too long because you actually can burn whatever dye is in there. And then we're going to set it down in there like this, very slowly. And then just let it float. We're gonna leave that on there for 10 minutes. We'll be back in just a few seconds for you. Okay, our 10 minutes is up now, and we'll go ahead and pull this disc and see what it looks like. We do have the option of putting it down longer if we don't like how dark the disc turned out with the black, but I think this is gonna work really well. So same concept as putting it down, just go ahead and lift it off. And that looks super jet black, which is gonna be sweet. So I do like to just go ahead and kind of hit up the rim real quick. I'm gonna set that down on that nasty old towel. And go ahead and put that over there. We will put a couple of sprays of Dawn dish soap and water to go ahead and clean up the disc. And it also kind of helps stop anything from continuing. Sometimes you do have stuff on your hands when you're picking this up, so go ahead and hit up the back real quick, and then we'll go ahead and start weeding it again, and it'll kind of reveal the disc naturally. So we'll go ahead and clean the disc up one last time. It does look like I got a little bit there, so I'm gonna just go ahead and hit a little acetone up right there. See if I can clean that little section up. And there was a little bit right there too. So Go ahead and hit it one more time. I am going to take this to my sink and do it as well. A lot of times these vinyls leave a little bit of residue. You can use one of those green scrubber pads to get some of that residue up. But overall, that turned out really sweet. I'm actually kind of glad I didn't put any color on it. I like just the black and white. So I do apologize for putting that at the beginning of the video. But hopefully you can tell that that's not actually the way we did it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you have any tips or tricks that I didn't do in here to make mine and other people's disc dies better. Thank you guys so much for watching.